Hey, AJ. This week I was chatting with one of the members of my author club, which is a writing sprint community, and she said, you should do a wild hair video about this, one of your wild hair videos. And I thought, is that a thing I do? I guess it is a thing I do. So then my wife brought me these insanely gorgeous flowers from the flower market. And I thought, this looks beautiful. And okay, I will go ahead and do a wild hair video. Me and the flowers. It looks pretty good, right? So what's it about? Here's the thing. I have a wild hair about authors who decide they are not going to sell that many books. There is a giant myth in publishing right now, at least in the self-publishing side. And I guess it also translates over into traditional publishing. But here's the thing. There is a belief that you are not going to be able to sell that many books, and it really doesn't matter because you're going to make all your money from whatever monetization you're going to do. So you're going to get a six-figure clients, you're going to do a six-figure program, six-figure consulting. Sound familiar? And so what happens is we don't think about the book sales. And the problem with that is this. Here's what you need to know. The problem with thinking, I'm not going to sell that many books, is that then you don't care that much about how good the book is. It means that you are going to cut so many corners. It means that you're going to rush to publish, rush to finish. It means that you'll tell yourself, okay, it's fine for a first book. Let me just get it out there. It means that you will not go through the rigorous editing that every book deserves. And you are going to end up with a book that maybe you don't feel is 100% what you wanted or even 80% what you wanted. So what happens then, because now you don't have a book that you love, that you can't wait to share with people, that you can't wait to hand to someone and say, this, read it. Okay. Now you're also not going to promote it. You're going to do the bare minimum if you do anything at all, because you don't love your book, because it's not what you wanted. It was a compromise. All right. Probably a series of compromises. And so now it's a domino effect. You started out thinking, okay, you can't make any money from book sales, so I'm not really going to worry about selling that many books. So then I don't need to take as long to develop my concept. I don't need to test to make sure this works. I don't need to make sure that it sounds the way I want to sound, that I'm come off the way I want to come off, that I'm delivering on my promise to readers. Hello, number one, most important thing. I'm not going to worry about the editing so much. In fact, I'm just going to do this formula, this program, this quick thing that makes sense. I don't know enough about publishing anyway. So let me just do this quick thing. And then you get to the exhaustion point, which is when you're done with a book, but you still have to launch it. And so you'll just do what other folks are doing, or just a little version of that, or a little baby amount, nothing that really puts you out too far, because it's scary enough to have your ideas out in the world in a book that you do love, in a book that you did put through rigorous editing and testing, a book that you are proud of. It's hard enough to show that to the world, put yourself out there bare naked, but a book that you kind of feel maybe isn't the greatest, or it's a compromise, you're not going to push that. Nuh-uh. And listen, marketing a book is a process, okay? It requires a lot of time, effort, and sometimes money. If you compromise, now you've got a baby launch or a nothing launch. It's a whimper. Maybe you got an Amazon bestseller for 5 minutes on a Tuesday, but now nothing. Now nothing. And because you don't love your book, you're not going to keep pushing it. You're not going to ask if anybody read it. Maybe they'll mention the book. Maybe it raises your speaking fees. Maybe you do get some clients from it. Maybe people think it's cool that you have a book and it helps you get on some podcasts. But who's actually reading it? Who's reading it and saying, oh my gosh, chapter 7 changed my life, right? Who's telling other people, hey, you have to read this book. This is a game changer. I don't know, not many. This is what happens when we decide in advance that we're not going to sell many copies of books. We decide, okay, that's not how we make our money. Now we've compromised the whole way through the whole process. The whole process. Why would you do that to yourself? A book is forever. It's forever. You can't take it back. Once it's out there, it's out there. It's also a monumental Herculean effort. Even when you make compromises, that's also hard. So why don't we make it great? It starts with thinking, I'm not going to say, let's at least say, I'm not going to say I won't sell a lot of books. Can we just do that double negative there? But let's go a little bit further. Can we set a stretch goal for this? Now, when I started out in this industry, which was 17 years ago, there was a different myth, and that myth was you can make $1 million and sell a ton of books just from a book that you also don't spend a lot of time on. That was also a myth, and it was wrong. But let's just be in that zone of thinking, how many books would I like to sell? And where am I willing to stretch myself? For my own book, which I'm still working on, which comes out next year, I initially thought, I'll be happy with selling maybe 10, 15,000 copies. That's respectable for someone like me. And then I thought, why am I going for respectable? What's the matter with you? You want to actually flip the tables on the publishing industry. You want people to raise their expectations for themselves. You want people to learn the craft of writing a great book. You want people to honor a sacred contract of the promise between the author and the reader. You want to change things. You want to help people. So why only 15,000? And then I thought, well, what would be a number that I would think is kind of ridiculous? And I thought, okay, I'm going to come up with 350,000. That's my number. It is ridiculous. It is in my mind, because I have attached an emotional feeling, right? That's redundant. I have attached an emotion and a value that I made up to that number when it's really just 350,000. That's all it is. It's just a sequence of numbers. But I've decided too much, too high, I can't do it. Not true. Because if I just think instead that can't do it, and think, okay, if I had to do it, how could I do it? What are some creative solutions? Now I'm thinking about ways that I could maybe get to that. Will I get to 350? It's still kind of a pie in the sky thing for me. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to sell way more than 15,000. But more importantly than that, I want a damn good book. No compromises. Because in order for me to make 350,000 books work, like to really make that happen, I have to have people talking about that book. And no one's going to talk about my book if I made a compromise after compromise, if I just rush to publish, if I don't love it, if I don't make sure that I can deliver on my promise to readers, which for me is that they'll learn the craft of writing a must-read book. Okay? This is my wild hair. Please don't start your authorship journey saying, I'm not going to sell any books, because the domino effect is dangerous. You're going to end up with something you don't love or even like, and you won't want to promote it. And so why are you doing it in the first place?